by surprise. Well, moving right along, we're halfway through 2022. Wow, it is already June. And June is such a wonderful month, don't you think? I mean, it's so full of celebrations. There's Father's Day and the summer solstice and graduations and weddings. It's just a wonderful time. No wonder there was a song written that's titled "June is Busting Out All Over." It does, with celebration. And June is also, for some of us, the beginning of the camping season. The wonderful Turkish playwright and philosopher Mehmet Murat Erdoğan wrote, "Go for a camping, and there both your weary mind and your exhausted body will rise like a morning sun." Camping can be healing. I mean, taking time to watch the sunrise, listening to the sound of nature, or staring into a campfire and watching the sunset, and maybe in between jumping into a cool lake or just doing some guilt-free relaxing, maybe reading or even napping. All of it can be refreshing to our mind and to our body. I mean, it often takes our focus away from things in our life that we don't want to think about, or things that are happening in the world that without a TV or other social media we don't even know about. When we go camping, whether we're camping in a cabin or an RV or a tent, usually the purpose is to get away from it all. So the question this morning is this: what is the all that so many of us want to get away from? What is it about our daily life that makes our mind weary and exhausts our body? Someone said the other day, "I Googled my symptoms, and it turns out I just need to go camping." What is it about our life that causes us to feel so sick and tired, or tired and sick, that we want to get away from it, if only for a weekend? I mean, John Muir wrote, "And into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul." A soul is such a beautiful thing to find, because our soul is such a beautiful thing to experience. But if coming back to our day-to-day life after getting away from it causes us to lose touch with our soul again, if we feel restricted or anxious or bored or weary about living the life that we call our own, then camping isn't enough to permanently uplift us or to bring about lasting change within us. We can't get away from it all anyway, because even if it all isn't physically present, we take the self. We take the perceiver of it all with us. We take our habits of thinking about ourself and life, and our habits of reacting to what goes on in life wherever we go. I mean, Dr. Seuss said it best. He said, "Today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. And John Kabat-Zinn wrote, wherever we go, there we are. There's nothing about our surroundings anywhere that can change us from the outside in. We take the same self camping that we take to the office or to the market or anywhere else. We take our happiness or our honoriness with us wherever we go. And we react to our surroundings according to the way we feel about it in that moment. It's how we perceive our surroundings that brings out the best in us, the worst in us, or something in between. I mean, if we've been arguing with ourselves, we all know what that's like. And about something, or we've been arguing with someone else, we don't know what that's like. About something, then it affects our mood and attitude, and that affects our perception and point of view. And if we've been appreciating ourselves, and hopefully we all know what that's like, for no reason at all, or we're appreciating someone else for no particular reason, that too affects our mood and attitude, and that affects our perception and point of view. No matter who we may be with, or who we seem to be relating to, whether it's our family, our friends, our coworkers, or strangers, it's the relationship we're having within us that causes us to feel what we feel about anyone else in any moment. Whatever is going on within us determines our interpretation of what is going on around us. In other words, how we're feeling affects how we're seeing what we're seeing while we're feeling what we're feeling. And that goes on all the time. That's why it's so important for us to love the one we're with wherever we are, because that one is always ourself. Wherever we go, there we are. The Buddha said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. So how much love and affection do we feel for ourselves on a day-to-day basis? How much love and affection are we feeling for ourselves right now? Now, as it's been mentioned, the title of today's talk is Camp Wannabe, in recognition of the start of the camping season. Now, where is Camp Wannabe? And how do we get there? Most of us don't need directions. We found it a long time ago, and we've been camping there ever since. From the beginning of our earth life, when we first entered this world, we came into an environment of not only contrast, but comparison. The humans of the world had been cataloging and pigeonholing. Yes, we know. You got to hold that pigeon sometimes because they don't like to be in a hole. But they'd been doing it. They've been doing it with everything in the world long before we got here, and they didn't stop after we came. Once we arrived in these 3D forms, we were put into catalogs, along with everything else, and often into a pigeonhole so small that we could barely breathe. Our parents were familiar with the catalog pigeonhole system, so they knew right where to put us. We might have been the oldest child, or the youngest child, or the middle child, or an only child. And so we were treated as if who we were was already determined by where we were in the birth order. And we didn't argue. We thought they knew. And we tried so hard to live up to everyone's expectations of us, high or low, that we began to expect the same thing from ourselves. In school, we were compared scholastically and athletically and creatively with other children. And often those comparisons made us want to be like the children we were compared to, the ones the teachers and coaches liked best. And so most of us, as we were growing up, learned the opposite of appreciating who we are. The very self we take with us everywhere we go. If we're dissatisfied with who we are today, it's because we're still in the habit of comparing ourselves to others. We may want to be as smart, as quick-witted, as young, as healthy, as thin, as happy, or as spiritual as someone else seems to us to be. As someone else seems to be so much more of those things than we are. We may want to be pleasing to others, especially to those we love. But our desire to be the one that they want us to be causes us to lose touch with our soul and the self we're created to be. While we're wanting to be more like someone else who seems to have a better life than we do, or seems to be having more fun than we are, while we're trying so hard to become more spiritual, while we're wanting to be somewhere else so that we'll feel better about ourselves and life, we're missing the chance of experiencing the magnificent spiritual being we already are right where we are. Abraham Hicks tells us 2 things will keep you grounded forever: comparing yourself to others and listening to those who want to keep you on the ground with them. Be yourself. Trust in your giftedness and soar. If we don't trust that it's okay to be ourselves, we won't discover the gift of our uniqueness that we came into this world to share. I mean, no one alive is youer than you. No one can express the self that we came to express but us. When we're not loving ourselves, we can't soar, because it's love that uplifts us and gives us wings. Self-love is never a selfish act, and it's never an egotistical act. The ego may be self-protective. It may be self-defensive, but it cannot love us the way God loves us. Self-love is an act of surrender to the love that created us. The love that loves us just as we are. The love that wants us to be happy being ourselves. A Course of Love tells us, love is the condition of your reality. Love is as essential to your being as the heart to the body. Self-love allows us to accept ourselves and our life as it is, and to appreciate who we are, just as we are, every moment. When we love, being ourselves, we free our mind of self-sabotaging beliefs that cause us to be controlled by the fear that we're not good enough. Self-love means that we don't feel a need to look for approval from anyone else because we know and we trust that we live in a universe of love that already approves of us. Louise Hay said, "You've been criticizing yourself for years, and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens." Self-love causes us to want to be ourselves and to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. We're motivated to let go of what isn't healthy in our day-to-day life. Certain people or activities or a living situation or habits. All of those things we've allowed to cause us to want to get away from it all. The beautiful poet Abujani, who wrote The River of Winged Dreams, wrote, "Dare to love yourself as if you were a rainbow with gold at both ends." If we're willing to stop judging ourselves and stop criticizing ourselves by comparing ourselves to anyone else and just shine like the colorful rainbow that we are right here, not someday, not over somewhere, but right here and right now, if we are willing to let ourselves shine, we'll discover there's no one else we want to be. Namaste. All right. Quick, but to the point. Okay. Well, this is the time of our service when we get to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone who's here in the sanctuary. Thank you for everyone who's watching live stream or will watch sometime this week. Thank you for joining in the message that LEC offers, because it's a message of love, to love ourselves, to love each other. It's a message that heals. It's a message that can heal the world. And so if you like today's message, or you are liking all of the messages and you don't know yet how to support LEC so we can keep doing this indefinitely, then there's no one who can tell you better than our treasurer, Dr. Jamie Phillips.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, ways you can contribute. If you're online or watching the live stream, You can go to facebook.com/Life Enrichment Center and hit the donate button. You can go to our website, lecflint.com, where you'll find the podcast tomorrow, and hit the contribute button. You can donate via PayPal, and our PayPal email address is lec2512@gmail.com. Or you can just do it the old-fashioned way and send us a check to the Life Enrichment Center, 2512 South Dye Road, Flint, Michigan, 48532. And if you're here in the sanctuary, appreciate it. We'll be having our gratitude receivers come forward. Martha. Thank you. And while we're collecting the offertory here in the sanctuary, we'll listen to Daniel Namad and Nemo Patel